Hi, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us in today's webinar. I am Priyanka and I'm the solution consultant at Firebase Analytics for North America region. For all our new users, let me give you a brief introduction of who we are. Tatwik is an authorized reseller and consultant of full stack Google marketing platform and Google Cloud platform. We are also one of the top cloud for marketing solution providers, along with digital analytics solution for large enterprises and unicorn startups. And we're spread across India, UAE, Singapore, and North America. Well, this is our first ever dedicated webinar for USA and Canada, and we're super excited to have you all join us. Our today's webinar is based on attracting, engaging, converting, and measuring app users, basically catering to each phase of a user's journey using Firebase Analytics, and it will be presented by Sarjak and Namrata. Just a few things before we start. If you have any questions during the presentation, please feel free to type them in the question box in your GoToWebinar control panel. I will bring them up at the end of the presentation and we'll be sure to answer as many questions as time permits. I will be carrying out a couple of polls during the webinar that will help us know you all better. And we have an exciting giveaway of $300 Google Cloud credit at the end of the webinar. Now, before I hand over this session to Sarjak and Namrata, let me run a quick poll to understand your business objectives and expectations from an app analytics tool. Okay, here you go. Now, your expectations could be, either using it for user acquisition, for user retention, or A/B testing in order to improve your conversion rate optimization. Okay, I will keep this running for another 15 seconds. Okay. Great. So we have the answers, and it's quite interesting to know that most of the people will prefer using it for user acquisition, and then for improving their conversion rate optimization, and 8% says they'll use it for user retention. Thank you so much for your inputs. Okay. Now, while we might be aware that Firebase Analytics can help us achieve all of these objectives, let's go ahead and dig into it a little deeper. And with this, over to you, Sarjak.
Great. Thanks a lot, Priyanka. And thank you all our participants for being a part of this webinar today. Lately, we have seen that there is a lot of traction and conversation around Firebase, considering that Google has recently started to sunset all the Google Analytics mobile apps tracking properties in GA that are serving the data from Google Analytics SDKs for both Android and iOS. So we wanted to share our expertise and knowledge on Firebase, which is right now being the talk of the town for these days when it comes to app analytics. So we initially designed this particular webinar to cover the advanced analysis topics using Firebase, but we've received an overwhelming response and registrations for this particular webinar, wherein the audience that we have has requested some topics that they want us to cover using our agenda. Right. So the first thing that we wanted to talk about is they want us to talk about is covering the basics of Firebase. How do we integrate the Firebase with BigQuery and create some useful dashboards? And how do we do campaign tracking? How do we actually run campaigns using the campaign URLs being delivered from Firebase? How do we use Firebase to generate insights that can help us in taking decisions, tracking end-to-end user journey using Firebase, and comparing Firebase to the other app analytics tools in the market? Right. So considering the request that we have received from the team, from the audience, and our original agenda, here is what we are going to speak about in our today's webinar. We'll just start with Firebase Analytics and how does it compare to the other app analytics tools. We will then move on to discuss about how you can actually attribute your marketing campaigns using Firebase Analytics. We'll then talk about advanced analytics and certain use cases of using doing advanced analytics using Firebase and data in BigQuery. We'll then see how you can integrate Firebase, the data from BigQuery to Google Data Studio in order to creating some interactive dashboards. And the last point that we'll touch upon is how do you activate the data that you analyze from Firebase to take certain marketing decisions. So let's just dive in and let's kick it off. So is Firebase just an app analytics tool or is it more than that? So a lot of perception around Firebase is that it is merely an app analytics tool, but when we talk about what Google launched with the vision of making it a mobile and web application development platform, you can actually build your app within Firebase, you can improve the app quality, you can then analyze the user behavior and patterns, and with the help of the insights generated from the user behavior and patterns, you can grow your business by actually touching on the live users directly within your app. So these particular different modules that you see in front of the screen, the develop, quality, analytics, and grow modules, these modules have different features and functionalities which are useful for your various departments in the organization. Let's say if I talk about develop and quality provide these particular modules provide functionalities which can be useful for your engineering team, technology team, or let's say quality is definitely useful for the quality analyst team out there in your organization. The major use of these particular tools and functionalities that these teams would take out is improving your app's experience for the users. Consider that you have a very quality, super quality, high quality app out and there in the market, and you have good number of user base. You would definitely like to define and you'll definitely like to identify the patterns, and you would like to understand how my users are behaving with the content within my app, and how are they consuming, how are they giving me conversions and whatnot, right? To do so, analytics, the module analytics will have certain reports which will help the product and data science teams to generate insights around user behavior and patterns and get some user actionable insights from there. Once you have these insights generated from the analytics module, you will then actually put these particular insights to actions and try to grow your business using tools like A/B testing, in-app messaging, using dynamic links which can be used for your actual campaign URLs. So essentially, this grow module will help the digital marketers take better marketing decisions and target the users very efficiently as they were doing before. Now, if we talk about the comparison between Firebase and the app analytics tools that we have today in the market, there are multiple tools in the market for app analytics, and you all must be aware of some of these tools that you are seeing in front of the screen. So let's take a quick comparison and check the features and capabilities that these tools have, right? All these app tools that you are using or might have heard of or are planning to use, they're definitely experts when it comes to data analytics. However, they have their own way of engaging with the customers using various marketing techniques and experimenting the user experience using A/B testing, using certain other techniques that Firebase or other tools have. If you see, some of these tools can even engage at a granular level with the customers, even via WhatsApp messaging directly, right? So about analytics and engaging with the customers, they're definitely there, and they are very, very useful for the businesses to either grow or to maintain or to enhance the user experiences. But when it comes to handling attributions, they're quite not there yet. All these tools have attribution data based on some of the other rule-based attribution models, and they don't provide the advanced attribution capabilities like data-driven attribution models or assisted conversions within the tool. In such a scenario, Firebase comes in very handy because it has an advantage of getting seamlessly connected or integrated with BigQuery, where it provides the raw data of Firebase Analytics of the users' patterns, users' behavior, and where I can actually I can have my data science team to work on it, and I can actually build the custom attribution models which are data driven, as well as I can also create insightful reports for understanding assisted conversions or also identifying the best use conversion paths by my users. So when we talk about Firebase being integrated with BigQuery and providing us the access and the benefit of raw level of analytics data, this is not only related to attribution. Even if you wish to do certain advanced custom analytics, this comes in very handy, and you can also do it using BigQuery data Firebase data in BigQuery. Right. So yeah, there's this time that we would like to have the poll number 2. Priyanka, over to you.
Thanks, Arjak. That was quite a comprehensive comparison of the leading app analytics tools. Okay, so this brings me to my second poll, where I would like to understand, if you're using any of the current app analytics tool or on GSDK, would you like to migrate to Firebase Analytics? Now, since Google has already announced the sunset of GSDK, that could definitely be one of the major reasons for migration. However, other reasons that I could think of can be the integration feature of Firebase with BigQuery or Play Store or even Google Ads. Okay, I'm still receiving some answers. All right. Thank you so much for your inputs. Back to you, Sarjak.
All right. Thanks for that, Priyanka. Let's talk about up next. I'll be talking about the project, how a project is structured in Firebase, and then let me give you a quick walkthrough of how the Firebase project console would look like. You must be aware of this, but let me still give you a walkthrough for some of you who might not be aware of, and see the various reports that come in handy every now and then for our analysis. Right. So let's say if I have on the top like extreme left, if you see, there is this Firebase account that I have. When I go into a Firebase account, one particular account can have multiple projects attached to it. Let's say Sarjak at Tatwik has access to Firebase project 1, 2 and 3, and Firebase project 2 is, let's say, built only for our internal apps. Let's say we have 2 different iOS apps and 3 Android apps. So one of these apps, I wanted to identify the user behavior. I can, if you see right in the middle of the screen, you see that there is Firebase Analytics, which has the capability of giving you reports over what my users are, my users are doing on the app, what are the user attributes that they have, what kind of conversions are they giving me, are they actually converting or not. I can understand the funnels for this particular user behavior, and I can also build certain audiences to filter out reports or remarket the users again in future. So this is the entire Firebase structure, how it looks like, all the way from account to projects to apps to analytics, and then the reports within the analytics. Right. Let me just give you a quick walkthrough of these different reports that come in handy, and just a high level understanding of what these reports are. We first talk about events. So events in Firebase are nothing but your user actions, and this could be anything ranging from opening an app or installing an app or making an actual in-app purchase or completing a step. Let's say if you are a gaming company, completing a level could be one of your events. Buying certain things could be your in-app purchases. Buying extra coins or extra money could be your in-app purchases. And there's a set of automatically collected events as well, which are called predefined events. It comes in handy as soon as you integrate your Firebase with your mobile application without doing any further implementation. Now, if you are aware of the custom dimensions that we use in Google Analytics, which are used to provide additional information to an event or a page, there's something called as event parameters that comes in very handy, and you can also provide additional details around an event using event parameters. Going on to the next one, it's conversions. So conversions are nothing but the events that are very much important to your business and are actually tagged to your business objectives. Such as, let's say if I have my business objective as bookings, number of bookings that are made, number of levels which are completed, number of in-app purchases that are done, or new user signups for that matter, or let's say people subscribing to my channel or anything like that. So I can mark certain events which are already getting tracked as conversions, so that you can enjoy the attribution level reporting, and you can also send the postback data to the ad networks to improve the traffics that they are sending to your application. The next thing that I'll speak about is the audiences. What are audiences? So audiences in general terms basically everybody is aware that the user segments that I can reach out to are my audiences. You can combine events, event parameters, and the user properties to create any subset of user and call it an audience. You can filter out certain reports just to identify the user behavior for that particular audience. You can also use them for targeting with respect to in-app notifications or A/B testing, or even campaigns directly on your Google Ads or DV360 marketing tools. Let me just give you a quick walkthrough of how audiences are structured and how these other reports that I just spoke about are structured in Firebase Analytics, and also give you a quick understanding of how to create your first audience in Firebase. Right, so we'll just be using a demo project that we get by default in Firebase, because it has got some data and the other apps that we have don't have enough data. So let's just see how events would look like. So there are events which are related to my ads, the ads that I'm showing to my users, ad clicks, impressions, and rewards, and something like that. If I were to check the so the certain predefined predefined or automatically getting tracked events could be app remove, app update, could be in-app purchase, it's a first open, and session start. So certain events like these are automatically getting tracked as soon as you integrate. But then if you were to implement certain events on your own, so this particular demo that I am showing, the demo project, is of a game called Flooded. Most of us are aware of this game. We have been users of this game ourselves, right? So when you complete this particular levels, you can have the level complete as an event with an added parameter of level name, so that the first level and the second level, or if you have names for these levels, you can also you can also pass them in the parameters right there. Moving on to the conversions, so you might be able to see that some of these particular events that I am seeing right now are marked as conversions. If you see the toggle on the right hand side, they are marked as conversion. Let's say app update is a conversion for me as a business, completing 5 levels is a conversion for me, first open is a conversion, in-app purchase by default comes as a conversion, right? So let's just go to conversions and see how these conversions are getting tracked properly or not, right? When I go to conversions, I get to see all those events that I marked as conversions and the by default tracking conversions in here, completing 5 levels. So I have count of 723, so somewhere around 723 times 5 levels were completed within this particular date range of last 20 days. I wanted to do certain level completes, so 13,000 or nearly 14,000 times there were some or the other levels that got completed, and since I have it as a conversion, I can also assign it a value, a dollar value, or any numeric value that I can then eventually identify as the actual business impact that it has made on my business. Moving on to the audiences, let's say there are certain audiences which are already created here just for the demo purposes, right? I consider that all those users who have beaten the progressive levels are my expert users, users who have experienced a fatal exception once in their entire life cycle are crashing users. So I can create such audiences and just use these audiences to identify what they are actually giving me as conversions. Or let's say if I were to identify the conversions for crashing users as opposed to the ones who are experts, I can just use the audiences that are created in the audience panel and use them right here. So if I were to use crashing users, I can identify in any of these reports that you have in analytics, you can apply these audiences and try to identify what they did and what did not work for them and what actually worked for them. So if you would see the if I just put this particular audience on the conversions, I can see that the completed 5 levels kind of conversions are very less in terms of crashing users. But when it comes to if I were to apply this instead of this, I were to apply expert users, the number would definitely go up, right? Let me just give you a quick walkthrough of how an audience creator would look like. This is one of the dummy apps that we have at Tatwik, and I'll just give you a quick understanding of how an audience builder would look like. So when you go to audience builder, you can either start from scratch and create a custom audience, or it gives you suggested audiences based on your industry, some general templates, some general audiences that it has, like recently active users. You can also use them, you can make them as you can use them as templates. I were to, let's say I wanted to use this demographics and I wanted to say that consider all the users who are probably between the age of 25 to 34. Consider all the users who are male, And then I wanted to understand the people who are coming and using EN US, right? I can set the membership duration and identify for how long do I need these people to be a part of this particular audience. I can verify whether this audience is generated properly or not by identifying the users that are falling in this particular audience. If I were to create an audience from scratch, I also get multiple conditions. Like, let me just go ahead and show you from scratch. If I create this audience from scratch, I can identify whether to include the users from one single session, across the sessions, or for a single event as well. I can have a combination of dimensions, metrics, or events, and use the event parameters to identify which particular audience do I need to target, or which particular audience do I need to use for filtering. Multiple conditions you can have. You can also exclude certain part of audiences. Let's say you wanted to run a marketing campaign, or you wanted to exclude the expert users from the crashing users. You can just add that particular group down below. You can also have, if you have an understanding of how segments work in Google Analytics, you get the sequential segments there, and you can also add sequences here, like people who have completed step 1 and then done step 2, either indirectly or directly followed by them, and then completed step 3 and whatnot. Once you have these audiences, what you can do is that you can directly either use them for filtering. You can also use them for let's say you wanted to run in-app messaging, or you wanted to send them direct notifications from here. You can also use them to perform A/B test and identify that this particular audience I want to use for this A/B test, and I want to exclude them from the other A/B test. If you have if you have certain marketing tools attached or integrated with the Firebase project, which I'll show you how to do it in a while. So once you have Google Ads or Display and Video 360 attached to this, or any other marketing tools like Admob, you can directly use these particular audiences in those tools, in the external tools, just by this simple integration. Right, so this is all about how audiences work and what are audiences in Google and Firebase Analytics. Moving on to the next ones, you have funnels, right? So funnels, as we all know, are majorly used to identify drop-offs in certain sequences of user events that I want to understand if they're following this particular user event or not. Let's say if I were to identify that people who are completing a gaming level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, I can have them as different steps in my funnel. I am an e-commerce company, and I wanted to identify if people are actually following my actual e-commerce funnel, all the way starting from a product impression to product click to adding it to cart and actually purchasing. I want to identify where the people are actually dropping off. What I can do is that I can create a funnel in Firebase Analytics and gain insights into which particular area or which particular points I am losing out on most of the users, and I can actually work on that. I can optimize that. Note that these funnels that we have in Firebase Analytics are the open funnels. So if you want to leverage these funnels and the data in Firebase Analytics and have the closed funnels, you can definitely have them, and Namrata will speak about that, but with the integration of BigQuery. So you can integrate BigQuery where you get the raw data and you can have closed funnels. You can build your custom queries and you can have closed funnels. One of the examples will be shared by Namrata after a while. So let me just give you a quick understanding of how funnels would look like in the demo project right now. Again, I wanted to understand how my users are actually progressing in the gameplay. I just create a funnel, and creating a funnel is as good as creating a custom report in Google Analytics or any other tool. You just need to identify the steps. You need to put conditions for event names and event parameters, and you can just be done with that. Right. So I have this particular funnel which is created in the demo version already, which is first open. So these many times in this particular number of days, nearly 3,000 times people opened the app for the first time. They started one or the other level and they completed these many levels, right? So this way you can have multiple steps to this particular funnel, and you can create your own funnels. Everybody is definitely, I'm sure, are aware of the funnels, and how to use them is something which is very intuitive in Firebase Analytics. Moving on from there, you also get user properties. So user properties are nothing but the attributes for a particular given user. Let's say if I am a spender on a particular app, I buy a lot of in-app services, and I also buy a lot of coins. My profession is this. I might have entered it during the first form filling, or while registering on the app. I might have provided my location, language preference, and profession as well. So if I talk about location, it is definitely not going to be a static information. So these user properties can be slowly changing over a period of time, but my profession might not change. So it could be static information as well. You could use these user attributes to directly filter the data in any of these reports, like we just saw about filtering the data using the audiences. You could also filter the data using these user attributes. You get certain predefined user properties as soon as you integrate your application with Firebase without any additional implementation. But if you want to use any particular user property before in any of the filters and want to filter out that, you need to register or probably create that user property. When I say register, you want to create that user property first in the analytics interface. Some of the other useful reports are one of them is latest release. Then there is retention reports. There is stream view and debug view. What latest release provides you is that, let's say if I have just launched one of my new app versions, I can track how many of my users across both iOS and Android are actually upgrading if I have linked both these platforms. I can understand their engagement with the new app. How are they consuming my data? Are they sending me good enough? Are they falling in the desired funnels that I have? I can then also understand and try to see if there are a lot of crashes in there, if they are getting a lot of exceptions, or if the stability of that particular app is good enough to roll out for the larger user base. Once I have that understanding, I can then also see the retention reports. So retention reports are nothing but the cohort reports that everybody has in the analytics domain. Everybody has been aware of what cohorts are, right? I can create cohorts based on the campaigns that these guys were acquired from, and I can also have the cohorts created on the date from where they were actually got acquired from. And then I can identify how are these people coming back and back on my application and being active every other day. When we talk about the stream view, I get to analyze the app data across period of time, and I get to identify the trends and anomalies that are getting generated across the geography. It gives me a very good like look and feel of the entire dashboard, and it's very easy to play around with, and I get a deeper understanding of who is using which particular part of my app and what are they doing in real time, right? So I don't need to actually go and create multiple reports and see it in multiple tabs. Let's say if I just have initiated or launched a particular campaign, or I am just starting a new discount sale, I can just go in stream view and identify if people are actually engaging more with my app or not. And the last one, but not the least for sure, is the debug view. So debug view comes in very handy for the developers of your application, wherein they can validate the analytics and configuration while they are actually developing the app, right? So they don't need to wait for the data to be processed. The data gets, because the data in mobile applications, they come and they are dispatched in bundles over a period of time, right? Just to save the lag and to optimize the network usage. What happens is that the data, you don't need to wait for the entire data to be processed. You get the raw events data immediately as soon as you make certain adjustments without actually having to wait for the data to be processed or creating certain reports. You get the direct like lookalike of what the users are doing in real time in debug view, right? So like we just saw a few minutes back, that there are different tools and they have their different USPs and advantages over others. And most of the companies, including us, we use multiple tools to take advantage of this particular situation for our businesses. We might get certain tools which are like great for analysis and reporting. We might get certain tools which are great for activating and taking user actions and reaching out to users and also doing certain attributions. But some of these tools could just be good in UI and could be just very user friendly. On a personal level, while we have been using Firebase a lot, I preferred Firebase over other tools because of the seamless one-click integration that it has with tools like Google Ads, Admob, Display and Video 360, and Google Play. So when we talk about the marketing tools as well as we talk about Google Play, Firebase Analytics integrates with these tools with just one-click integration. Let me just give you a quick understanding of how easy it is to directly link, let's say Google Ads with my Firebase Analytics. Right. Let me just walk you through the steps. Right. So you go to the project settings. It's right below Firebase, the logo, and then right beside the project overview. You hit on settings and you click on project settings. As soon as you click on project settings, these are the project level settings and not an app related settings, mind this, right? You go to integrations, and when you go to integrations, you will be able to see that there are certain Google tools or Google platforms that you can link your Firebase project with, and then there are certain third-party tools as well, like Slack or Jira, because you want to track your issues, or you want to have certain alerts directly sent to your so Slack is definitely for sending out direct alerts to your team members, and then Jira is definitely for creating and tracking the issues there. But moving on to the important part for this particular discussion is how do I actually integrate Google Ads. You just need to hit link, and it will tell you that these are the benefits that you get when you directly link a Firebase project to Google Ads. You get Google Ads campaign data accessible in Firebase, and you get Firebase data accessible in Google Ads, like conversions, audiences, and whatnot, right? It just gives you an understanding of what will you be able to see once you integrate these two tools. You hit continue, and if you are an admin, if you have the administrative access for any of the Google accounts, it clearly says up here that if I have an admin access for any of the Google Ads account, you will be able to see it here. If you don't, you just will not be able to see it, see the screen itself, right? I can just select this particular account that I want to, and I have an admin access to as well, and hit link to Google Ads. Since this is a dummy app and this is an actual account, I'm not gonna actually link this, but it is as simple as that. Once you link this, and you will be able to then see the data for attribution right across the conversions that you have, right? I don't have enough data just to show you, but this is exactly where you will be able to see this. You go to conversions, and you select one particular conversion. I'll just remove this audience, and let's say I were to see the first opens, right? I want to see the first opens and how many of my conversions or how many of my first open users or events are we are getting from the actual what do you call, we are getting from the actual campaigns. So I can just go down below, and I can select this particular source, and I can have medium, and see that people who are coming from organic, people who are coming from CPC, if actually the people are coming in from your CPC campaigns or Google Ads campaigns, since the integration is done, you will be able to see the data down below, and you'll be able to make sure that this is what my actual Google Ads conversions are happening, right? You can also see the attribution data like I just showed, and you'll be able to see the data for your campaigns, and you can also toggle down with this particular attribution models right here, right? Now, most of us are wondering and are having a hard time when it comes to tagging the URLs or tagging the actual campaign URLs, because you might be running campaigns across the tools and across platforms, but using UTM parameterized campaign URLs. What happens is that UTM tagging has been a problem for the entire marketing universe, even for the web applications, or I would say mobile application and web applications. Firebase comes in very handy to create proper campaign URLs, and it has a UI. So these are called Firebase dynamic links, and it has a UI to create deep links with UTM parameters. Let me quickly show you how these particular dynamic links are created. So just to give you a gist of it, the links that can work the way you want, they'll run on multiple platforms. They'll definitely work even though you do not have your app installed, or you do have the app installed, right? So let me just quickly give you how a particular dynamic link is created. So you go down all the way to Grow panel, and then you hit on dynamic links. When you go to dynamic link, you will see that there is a prefix which has already been selected for my app. I can add a URL prefix if I want to, but let's just go ahead with this. This is nothing but a URL shortener, wherein I can have the new dynamic link just by clicking on that new dynamic button. I can have certain suffix to this particular URL. Let's say I want to have testweb_2, something like this. And then this will be my actual URL, which I'll be able to send to my campaign managers who are running the actual campaigns, and they can just put this in the creatives, right? Let me go ahead and hit this. Now, this is the deep link layer. Let's say I wanted to drive my users onto actually installing my app. I can actually have this Google Play URL and put this in the deep link URL. You can have the deep link URL to a particular screen on your mobile application as well. Let's say you wanted to drive all the users to level 2 on your gaming app, you could do that. You wanted to drive your people to let's say some discounts page on your on your app, within your app, you can do that. And I can just give a name to this, let's say some sale installs, something like that. I'm sure it does not make sense, but yeah, just a name to that. Once I have the deep link created, I can identify how that particular link would behave when it comes to iOS. Since I don't have an iOS app installed or linked with this particular project, we'll just skip and we'll see that the deep link should be opened up in a URL in a browser in iOS. But I have an Android app linked to this particular project. I can select that Android app right from here. This is the Android app that we have, and we were seeing it right here. If this particular app is installed, then it will directly take me to the app with the help of the deep link that was provided there. If it is not installed, it will take me to the Google Play page of my app, right? I can hit next, and this is the most important part of this particular dynamic link creation, wherein I can track the campaign with the UTM parameters. Let's say I were to give test underscore SRE, and then I give test underscore medium, and then I have some campaign like sale underscore installs. Right. Once I do this, I can create this with just a click of a button, and I get this entire URL right in front of that. Right. When I hit this particular URL, let's just see if it works properly. And this is a shortened URL, which now has got all the campaign campaign parameters properly tagged and properly intact as I wanted. Right. So I have UTM source, I have UTM medium, and I have UTM campaign as well. You can just pass this particular link to your campaign managers, and they can just be done with. An added functionality that these dynamic links provide is that you can also measure the performance of the clicks and the installs and the first opens that these particular links are actually driving. So just to show you some data that we have in the demo project, right? You get 43 clicks for this particular last 30 days. You get these many redirects and whatnot. One interesting part that this shows us is that if I have a dynamic link, how does it actually work, and how does it actually like I can preview what is the behavior of this particular link by just hitting the link preview and debug mode. So this is what happens. It shows you that you have certain warnings, and you need to take certain actions, and you can just remodify your entire link unless if there is a serious warning, you can definitely take actions right away. But if not, you can just be done with by sharing this link. If this link is shared and people are opening in different platforms, somebody is opening it in desktop will just be seeing this particular web link as a web page, even if it is clicked from a particular link on let's say WhatsApp or anywhere in the page, or your actual ad, right? Or even if you are typing it in the browser directly in the address bar, you'll just be able to see the web link. When let's say talk about Android, if I click on it, if I have the app installed, it will take me to the app directly on the deep links page, or it will ask me to install the app from Play Store if it is not installed. If I just type into the browser this particular link, I'll be directly directed to the Play Store, and then I can actually go from there to my mobile application, right? And same goes for iOS. So you can also see the entire flow chart of what actually happens if people are clicking on my link or directly typing in, if they have the iOS version greater than 9 or less than 9, and if I have access to the application, if the app is installed or not, and whatnot, right? So you get the idea of how actual dynamic links work within Google Analytics. Sorry, Firebase Analytics again. Now, having said that, Firebase also has a built-in pipeline, like I was mentioning, to Google Play and Google BigQuery. You can take the advantage of Google Cloud ecosystem, its machine learning capabilities to build advanced analysis based on the data that you get in BigQuery, right? For example, even though Firebase attribution model is last click, but when I integrate it with BigQuery, I can create my own machine learning models to identify the real conversion paths, which are actually based on the custom data-driven models that I could build in, and I can also identify the assisted conversions and the other advanced analytics that we were just speaking about a minute ago. That's pretty much it from my side. I'll now hand over it to Namrata to talk more about these advanced analytics using Firebase and BigQuery. Yeah, Namrata, please.
Thanks, Arjak. Hi, everyone. I'm Namrata Nagdev here, and thank you once again to all the participants for being part of our webinar today. So what we'll do is we'll quickly dig into the advanced analysis and data visualizations possible using Firebase and BigQuery integration, and then we'll move on to the activations that can be done within the Firebase console itself. Just a quick note here, these topics are really useful for the product managers, marketing managers, data engineers, and all the analysts out there in our audience today. So we just saw that the built-in reporting for the basic metrics and the user behavior analysis that can be done using Firebase. But if we want to dig more deep and understand the Firebase Analytics data in more depth, find meaningful insights and patterns, Firebase and BigQuery integration is needed. This honestly just opens doors to a lot of other advanced analytics, such as creating closed funnel. This point was called out by Sarjak a little bit about 10 or 15 minutes back when he was talking about funnels. So using BigQuery integration, we can create closed funnels, revenue and monetization data, ad performance measurement, in-app purchase reporting, understand the top performing features within the app, calculate and manipulate the user lifetime value, and understand the user churn pattern since the raw level data is collected in BigQuery. Now, there are two prerequisites, as you can see on the screen, for integration. First, in Firebase, the account needs to be an owner of the project, and in BigQuery, that same Google account would be requiring the project owner access. So we've just noted down some two examples that we have understood from our experience on working with Firebase and BigQuery integration that can enhance the existing Firebase reporting. So as you can see here, there are 50 custom parameters, 10 text and 40 numeric that can be used across 500 events in Firebase, which means I can spread out the 50 custom parameters across 500 events. And a point to note here is that repeated parameters in different events would be counted twice. So let's take a look at an example of how BigQuery can come to the rescue. So as we can see here, event 1 through 4 are consuming the 50 parameter limit within Firebase, and the fifth event configuration of 10 parameters would not be possible with only Firebase integration. But if we are to if there is a Firebase and BigQuery integration, we can pass the custom parameters in the app bundle, and this same data can then be seen in BigQuery. So even if this data would not be seen in Firebase, it would still get collected at raw level in BigQuery. And if we were to just run a very quick, simple query to check the key value pairs of the various events, we would be able to verify whether this information is getting passed or not. Now, one point to note here is that in Firebase, we can have 25 custom parameters per event. So if any event has 26, let's say, parameters, the hit would then get discarded from both Firebase and BigQuery. Now, Sarjak had earlier shown the entire integration process that was literally a one-click integration for Google Ads. The same process would be followed for Firebase and BigQuery integration. But in the interest of time, I'll very quickly move on to what type of further analysis can be done using this. So just to reiterate, with the Firebase and BigQuery integration, we can explore and analyze the project's historical data, answer any questions that we have about how the app is being used, and study the user behavior on a granular level. So, so now that we've set the building blocks around Firebase and BigQuery integration, let's whet our appetite by looking at two sample queries that we've written in BigQuery and how, using that data, we visualize the same on Data Studio. So we've taken user funnel drop-off rate that is very specific to the e-commerce industry. And the second example that we've taken is from the gaming industry to understand the number of users and how they are churning at different levels within the game. So I'll very quickly hover over to the BigQuery console. And here, as you can see, we already have a query right in front of us. So what happens, so in this query, to get the churned users, the event that is used is called app_remove, that is by default reported in Firebase, and to this event is then used to extract the users that have churned on a particular day, along with the specific user properties such as what was the cash money, bonus money, and the level at which this user has removed the app. So these three specific custom parameters are passed with the event app_remove. So this can be configured in Firebase, and this data can then be seen in BigQuery as we have this in front of us. I'm sorry, I opened the wrong query, so I'm going to very quickly show you the churned user. So this is the query that I was talking about. So as we can see here, date-wise, we are seeing which country, which level, what was the cash money and bonus money of this specific user when they churned. So moving on to the dashboard that we then, so what we did is we used this table to create a dashboard. So the dashboard that is there in front of us is showing us, so what we visualized here is the trend line of total users for 2 days, and also the resulting users that have churned. So this we can get a very quick glance of the specific days within a month or the specific time period that is selected when there is a peak in the churned users, and try to map this against let's say any marketing activities that might have happened during this place. We can also, so if I scroll down, we'll be able to see details about the specific levels, how many users have churned at that level, what was the average cash money and bonus money that the users had at this specific level. So this can help us verify our hypothesis whether low cash money or bonus money is making the users churn. And in this pie chart on the left, we are able to see the common app uninstall drop-off points. So as we can see here, first level is the highest contributor for the users churning. So maybe we need to go back and look at why this could be happening. Maybe the onboarding experience of the user is not so great that is making them churn at the first level itself. So this type of analysis, or having a very quick overview in front of us can really help us gain insights on how our app is performing on a daily, weekly, or a monthly basis. So I'll now be moving on to the second example that we had created regarding the user funnel. So here, for the user funnel, to understand the drop-off rate from the time the product was added to the cart until the payment was successful, we have written this following query. So one very important point to note here is that we have mapped the users country-wise on each day who have followed the event immediately one after the other in a close sequence. So this is something that Sarjak had pointed out towards the beginning, wherein Firebase by default reports open funnels. But if we have BigQuery integrated, we can write our query in such a way that we are getting getting those users who have followed one step after the other in a close sequence. So here we've taken the example of when a user is adding a product to the cart, immediately followed by adding shipping details, immediately followed by payment details filled, and then immediately followed by the payment confirmation. So this closed funnel is possible because custom query is possible only because of the Firebase and BigQuery integration. So now, using this table that we have in front of us, we created a sample dashboard to understand what is the common drop-off point. And I'll just scroll down right here. Oh, and one more thing, we have created this dashboard so that we can see the country-wise performance of how this entire user funnel drop-off is happening. So I'll very quickly scroll down. So as you can see in front of you, there is a very significant drop-off within each of these steps, showing me on a very quick glance. So if I'm an analyst for the company, for the app, and I want to see how the user funnel is, just by seeing this is raising a lot of red flags for me, and I have a lot of direction just by seeing this funnel on what steps I should see or what possible reasons could be for users to drop off this fast. So some of the possible reasons for this could be maybe because of page load issues, payment issues, or less options for payment, payment gateway issues. The shipping detail form could be pretty lengthy. That is why a very significant percentage of users are dropping off. And the last but not the least, we can also see that the order confirmation right here, there's a 50% drop off, which ideally should be as close to zero as possible. So this is helping me understand on a very quick glance some of the possible reasons that can cause the the user drop off to be this high. And on the left, what we've visualized is the country-wise total conversions. So the order confirmation that we see over here, this is the event, or this is the step when the user is converting. And as I can see here, I'm able to understand country-wise performance of how many users are actually coming on till the last step. Right. So honestly, depending on your business KPI, custom events and parameters can be created, then in turn queried in BigQuery to fetch raw level data, and in turn then be visualized on dashboard. So now that we have all of this rich information right in front of us, and we were able to get very high level insights, the next obvious question that comes to mind is, so what? What can I do with all the data and the insights that I have in front of me? So one of the main closing points that I'd like to now talk about is how activations can be done within the Grow module within the Firebase console itself. Because as we all know, insights without any action is basically investment with zero ROI. So let's dig right in on some of the built-in features within the Firebase console that can help me, that can help us take very quick actions. So starting with predictions. So predictions, so under here, Firebase applies machine learning to the analytics data to create dynamic user segments based on the predicted behavior of users in the app. The built-in prediction within Firebase is available for the users churn and the anticipated spend. But Firebase machine algorithm predicts the performance, or also performance of those events that we can customize based on our business KPI. So all we need to do is we just need to mark these events as conversion, and under predictions we will be able to set this up as for activation. So some of the so what I've done is, for each of these points, I'm also going to mention a use case, so there can be a quick connect here. So a use case for predictions would be, if I have marked level 100 as a conversion for the expert users, Firebase will predict how many such conversions for this event I can expect in the next 7 days based on the past 1 day of user data. Moving on to A/B testing. With this, we can optimize the app experience by making it very easy to run, analyze and scale product data and marketing experiment. A use case for this could be, if you want to test which time in the day or which message works best to get the users to engage on the app or complete a purchase of the product, this would be a super useful tool. Coming on to cloud messaging, we can notify the client app that the new email or data is available to sync. We can send notification messages to drive user re-engagement and retention. A use case for this could be sending notification messages to, so this example, one example that comes to mind is in the banking industry. So if someone is looking at the fixed deposit rate within the banking app, but they do not actually complete the purchase of the fixed deposit, there could be messaging, that could be notification that could be sent to this user regarding the various fixed deposit rates that are available and about the fixed deposit calculator, for example. So we can also, one thing to note here is we can use predictions along with notifications to deliver one-time messages or maybe recurring campaigns. For example, we can automatically send a notification to those users who are predicted to stop using our app. Then moving on to in-app messaging, engaging the app's active user by sending them specific targeted and contextual messages that is helping them understand and use the key features within the app. So one use case could be if there is a user who has initiated checkout but has taken a lot of time to move on to the next step. We could send discount code and offer related promotion codes to these users to drive them to complete the sale. Then moving on to remote configuration. So with this, we can change the behavior and appearance of the app without actually having to publish an app update. And this can be done at no cost and unlimited times for daily active users. One use case that comes to mind is for the publisher industry. So if the publisher for the publisher app is trying to roll out variations on the app's homepage, for example, previewing an article instead of actually reading the whole thing. So this feature can be tested by doing remote configuration without actually having to publish the app update. Or we could, another example could be, we could roll out platform or region specific ads to do product based targeting. One important point again to note here is that when we use predictions that we just spoke about towards the very beginning of activations, so when we use predictions along with remote configuration right here, we can increase the conversions by providing a very specific and custom experience based on the user's past behavior or anticipated needs. And then moving on to the dynamic links, this is something that Sarjak has spoken about and demonstrated in quite some detail. So I'll just mention a use case. We could send promotional offers using links that work on any platform. So current or future users can redeem the offers whenever they are using iOS, Android, or a web browser, whether or not they have installed the app. Moving on to the last activation that is offered within the Firebase console is Admob. So using mobile advertising platform, apps can generate revenue very easily and monetize these mobile apps within the by targeting in-app advertising. So for example, when Admob is integrated and this is used for activation within the app, the ads from millions of Google advertisers can be shown in real time. The Admob API could be used to create space within the app UI for, let's say, a banner ad. So all of these configurations are possible, and this opens doors to new infrastructure within the app itself. So we've discussed quite a bit. So what I'm going to do now is I'll very quickly summarize the most important topics that we've covered till now. And just a point to note here is that we do have webinars planned in the future that are dedicated towards each of these modules that we discussed very briefly today. So just to summarize the key learnings from today's webinar, we started the discussion with how Firebase is so much more than just analytics, followed by the various app analytic tool comparison to understand the available tools in the market, what are the key capabilities and features offered by each of them. We then did a console walkthrough of Firebase marketing campaign attribution, integration process with Google marketing capabilities such as Google marketing capabilities such as Google Ads DV360, Google Cloud capabilities such as BigQuery integration, and we then discussed how advanced analysis can be done using the Firebase and BigQuery integration. We saw 2 sample dashboards regarding user funnel and user churn rate. And in the end, we discussed the various activations that are possible within the Firebase console itself, along with use cases. So I would like to thank each and every one of you who took time from your busy schedule to be a part of our webinar today. I'll now be handing it over to Priyanka.
We will be announcing our next webinar soon, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thanks again and have a good one. Bye.